If confit cooking your steak in butter is good, is beef tallow even better? Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and today I'm answering the question that, well, no one's asked, which is, can you confit cook a steak in beef tallow versus butter? And I think the answer here will be a resounding yes. Butter is fat, beef tallow is fat, except the beef tallow that I'm using today is one from my how to make beef tallow video, where I've infused it with a couple of extra ingredients, from salt to rosemary, thyme, and garlic, and I think it's really going to complement our T-bone steak here and take it up a notch. Now, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with beef tallow. First, I love it in the sense that it is great to have around the house and use for a number of things. Whether you just quickly want to season your cast iron pan or sear something in that, it's really, really handy. The hate part comes from the impression on a couple, online videos that really encourage you to go out and spend, for me, in my currency, $40 to $50 on a Wagyu beef tallow. And my taste buds, I've been in cooking and grilling and eating barbecue for over a decade, and I cannot taste the difference. This I made for free, if you count it was leftover brisket trimmings, and the beef tallow that I made in my last video is something that I was able to just buy some leftover fat scraps from my local butcher for pennies on the pound. It came to practically nothing, and it only took about 2 hours of my time. And so this is really, really easy to make, and I encourage you, if you're interested and you're seeing beef tallow on brisket or searing steaks, go ahead and just try making it versus taking the plunge and buying that off-the-shelf product, because I think you're paying unnecessarily for something you won't really appreciate the difference, or at least I don't appreciate the difference, and I hope that I could save you a couple bucks in the meantime. But enough about that, let me tell you how we're going to set up for today's cook. So today we're going to be doing our confit cooking on the Kamado Joe, Big Joe behind me, and the setup is really simple. Just going to add a little bit of charcoal and, like always, start a fire front and center using my grill torch, and just let the grill come up to about 225 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going just below a pinky's width on the bottom vent, and about 60% between the 0 and the first line on the control tower top, in order to hold those temperatures. We don't want to bring our beef tallow up to too high of a temperature and end up deep frying the steak, versus letting it confit cook low and slow for hopefully about an hour before it reaches its internal temperature. Now, even though that we've salted this beef tallow as well as added our aromatics, I went ahead and dry brined this ahead of time using Diamond Crystal kosher salt, and gave that an opportunity to hang out at room temperature for about 4 hours before you join me right now when we're getting ready to throw it in our beef tallow confit. And so if you have the time, you could do this overnight easily. 24 to 36 hours is a great result. But if you don't have the time, you can get nearly the same benefit of that salt working its magic at room temperature, where that salt is able to penetrate the meat much more quickly. I did this because I'm not quite sure, even though that our beef tallow is salted, if it'll give the opportunity for any of that flavor or salt content to really penetrate our T-bone steak in the amount of time that we're going to be cooking. So the game plan here is just to let this hang out, check on the temperatures regularly, and when I see that steak hit anywhere between 114 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, the plan is to pull it off, let it rest, remove our Dutch oven, and get ready for some direct searing, inferno mode, so we can get a bit of a crust on this T-bone. Let me bring you nice and close so we can throw on our steak and start our confit cooking in our smoked Wagyu beef tallow. Okay, let's check the temperature of our beef tallow. So I'm looking for anywhere around 145 to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's use our thermopen here. Check where we're at. 140, 145, 146, 147. I think we are exactly where we want to be. So let me go ahead now to set this aside and drop in our T-bone, and we will keep checking on this as the hour goes on to make sure we don't overcook it. Okay, it's been about an hour. I've been checking on this regularly, and I think we are getting to the spot where we are about done. Let's take it out. In fact, I think I might have even missed my mark for 114, 120. But let's get an internal here. 116. So I am good with that. I'm not going to take that any further. Let's go ahead, get a good grip on this so I don't drop hot oil everywhere. Pull this off and we're going to let it rest and set up for Inferno mode. Okay, so first I'm going to transfer our hot beef tallow just over to our Kamado Joe Classic here, just so I can let that cool. I'm going to restrain it once again before putting it away for future preserves. But let's go ahead and remove our accessory rack and open up our vents so we can get some heat in our Big Joe. Okay, so I've added just a little bit more charcoal to get up to Inferno mode, and while I'm waiting for that to ignite, it's a perfect opportunity to install our soapstone half moon for our sear and give it a chance to get hot while this charcoal ignites. All right, our Big Joe is up to Inferno mode, so I've just gone ahead and added about a spoon's amount of our leftover beef tallow before it hardens up, just to give our soapstone a little bit of oil to help enhance that sear. But let me move you nice and close so you can enjoy that sizzle action along with me. And we've added no other seasonings to our steak. So we just again had the salt brine 4 hours before, and we are relying purely on our garlic and thyme and rosemary infused tallow to see if that can enhance our flavor if we get any of those notes, or if we're going to regret not going with any other seasoning. We'll find out soon enough. Let's sear off this T-bone. Okay, we are good and hot. We're sitting just below 600 degrees, but that's again with a half basket with our soapstone blocking some of that heat. So that's just soaking up all of that energy. I think we are good and ready for our sear. Whew, look at that. All right, moment of truth. It's go time. All right, I think that looks amazing. Let's get this off, let it rest another minute. So our steak is just resting one more minute before we dig in for the taste test. This will give me an opportunity to do one final strain of our beef tallow before setting it aside for our preserve, where I'm going to move on to my next experiment, which is to see if we can dry age a steak just like you can with butter, but with beef tallow. Let me just show you the straining process real quick while we buy ourselves another 30-45 seconds for this steak to rest, which, by the way, that crust looks mega. Can't wait to try it. With the smell of this steak, that took what felt like an eternity and made me wish I'd bought less expensive paper towels that wouldn't have done as good of a job, but it looks like liquid gold. So I can't wait to use that on a future experiment. But let me bring it nice and close while we slice up our T-bone and find out if this is worth you trying at home or if it's a hard pass. All right, it's go time. I brought a little smoked salt just in case it needs that, but let's dig in and see how we did. Ended up a little bit more of a medium than a medium rare that I'm used to. A little bit thinner, and I think the confit and the sear took longer because we had so much liquid on our steak. In order to get that great crust that I was looking for, we ended up a little bit of extra time on the grill, but that is why I did the sear with the dome open, so we didn't end up more on the medium well to well done side. But this still looks pretty good. Let's dig in and see. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to dig another piece, see if I can make sense of everything that I'm tasting. So beefy. So that's not a fail. And I am getting just the slightest hint of some of our aromatics that we added in. This does not taste like a steak without any seasoning. In fact, I don't think I need the extra salt because I'm getting some of that salt from our 4-hour accelerated dry brine, as well as some of that garlic and aromatics. I'm going to try one more just to make sure I'm not leading you on here. Well, I don't know what to say. That worked far better than I thought it would. Would I go out of my way just to do this cook? No, I don't think it's worth the effort. But if you happen to be making beef tallow and you've got 7 pounds of brisket fat ready and you're going to be making tallow for another experiment, go ahead and try that. You've already got the hot oil to confit cook anything that you like, and it's worthwhile doing when you've already, you're already pot committed to making some beef tallow. If anything, this is coming across like a Wagyu steak, which is very rich. It's enjoyable in small doses, but I won't be able to eat this entire T-bone steak, which normally would not be a problem. Anyways, that was a really fun experiment, completely different than I thought how this ending would go, which was I have a garbage pail beside me getting ready if I had to discard the whole thing. That's not the case, and I can't wait to try a couple other things. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos, especially if you'd like to see that dry age in beef tallow experiment video. Make sure you have the notification bell on so you're alerted when it comes out in about a month's time. Until next time, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, signing off, and remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.